In the spring of 1923, inside Cairo's Continental Hotel, a wealthy British aristocrat named Lord Carnarvon was thrashing in his bed, gripped by a severe fever. At exactly 1:55 in the morning, his breathing stopped. At that precise minute, the entire power grid in Cairo failed, plunging the city into darkness. Thousands of miles away in England, Carnarvon's pet dog suddenly howled and dropped dead. Months earlier, Carnarvon had funded the opening of a 3,000-year-old Egyptian tomb. Rumors circulated about an inscription warning that death would come on swift wings to anyone who disturbed the pharaoh. Over the next 6 years, 22 people connected to that expedition died, including a radiologist who x-rayed the mummy and a secretary whose father jumped from a 7th-floor window. The public was left with a chilling question. Did this archaeological team unleash a dormant ancient evil, or is there a logical explanation buried in the sands? To find out, we have to look at the man who actually dug up the grave. Howard Carter grew up as a sickly child who never attended formal school, inheriting only a paintbrush from his father. For 15 years, he dug through the Egyptian desert, burning through roughly 50,000 pounds of Lord Carnarvon's fortune, with nothing to show for it. With funding about to be cut off, Carter's workers hit solid stone on the morning of November 4, 1922. They unearthed a descending stairway cut directly into the bedrock of the Valley of the Kings, leading to an intact door bearing a royal seal. When Carter finally breached that seal and peeked inside, he saw a preserved room overflowing with gold. It held nearly 5,000 objects, a dagger from meteorite iron, a solid gold coffin, and a pristine 10-kilogram death mask belonging to King Tutankhamun. It remains the most spectacular archaeological find in human history. Yet, almost immediately, the wonder of the discovery was eclipsed by a mounting body count and widespread public terror. The frenzy had no supernatural origins. Competing newspapers were furious that the Times of London had secured an exclusive deal to report on the tomb. To fight back, rival publications began linking every death of an associate, regardless of age or pre-existing illness, to the pharaoh's vengeance. The terrifying inscription about death coming on swift wings was an invention. An amateur researcher fed the ominous phrase to an eager reporter. When that reporter asked the excavation team about it, the security guard offered a silent, slight smile. That single gesture was enough for the papers to print the ancient threat as fact. The Curse of the Pharaohs was a campaign of sensational reporting, designed to sell newspapers. The reality of the king inside the tomb was far more tragic. Born around 1329 BC, Tutankhamun arrived during a period of massive instability. His father, Akhenaten, had abruptly outlawed Egypt's traditional gods, leaving temples shuttered and the administration in shambles. When Akhenaten died, the broken empire fell onto the shoulders of an 8- or 9-year-old child. Tutankhamun reversed his father's religious reforms, but his power over the kingdom was fragile. His own body was vulnerable. Autopsies and modern scans reveal that Tutankhamun was the product of generations of royal inbreeding. He suffered from bone diseases, and his remains show clear evidence of multiple malaria infections. Scientists found 130 walking sticks neatly stacked near his coffin. Tutankhamun likely relied on these for every step he took, as a severe clubfoot made unassisted walking nearly impossible. The boy king died at roughly 19 years old, his bloodline so weak and his reign so brief that subsequent rulers deliberately scrubbed his name from the official records. He was a sick teenager, intentionally forgotten by his own people. This chart shows the actual mortality data of the expedition members, dissolving the mystery. A scientific study tracking the Westerners present during the tomb's opening found that their average age of death was 73 years old. That was slightly higher than the life expectancy of that era. The supernatural coincidences fall apart. In the 1920s, Cairo's power grid failed constantly, making blackouts common. Lord Carnarvon's dog died hours apart from him when you account for the time zone differences between Egypt and England. Carnarvon died because an infected mosquito bite was a death sentence before the invention of penicillin. Howard Carter, the man who actually handled the mummy, lived for 16 years after discovering the tomb.
Whenever someone asked him about the curse,
He simply replied that he was still very much alive, eventually dying of natural causes at 64. There was no ancient vengeance. Under the weight of basic historical and scientific scrutiny, every single claim of the curse collapses. Ancient Egyptians believed in a concept known as the second death. According to their theology, a person truly ceases to exist only when their name is spoken aloud for the very last time. After his brief life, Tutankhamun's successors did everything they could to ensure he suffered that fate. They demolished his monuments and erased his identity from the king lists, successfully burying his memory for 3 millennia. Yet, the media frenzy created an incredible irony. By inventing a curse to sell newspapers, 1920s journalists forced the modern world to say the forgotten pharaoh's name daily. The curse was a lie. But it resurrected an erased boy from the sands, and inadvertently granted him exactly what his culture valued above all else: eternal life.